Good morning, young leaders and all our professors and teachers here today. I believe leadership begins with a question and ends in transformation. There were a few questions I asked myself a few years ago. Why is dignity of labor graded in India? And why does respect have to be a one-way street in India? It only moves from ground to top and not the other way around. And these very questions led me to pursue my human rights law at the National Law School of India last year after almost 20 years of completing my engineering. Let me share a story with you or a few incidences, and these are the questions through which I would want you to look at this stories, what I'm going to share. In 2023, one of our colleagues at work, Shivappa, he was 35 years of age at that time, and he had joined us when he was 20 years of age, along with his wife, who must have been around 15 years of age. And he joined us at our construction site as someone who takes care of the site, who does a lot of helping work at sites and managing logistics and many other works. And he stayed with us for almost 15 years. And he and his wife and 3 other children have been the primary seat of harassment in our society for many, many years. And he's just an example. As simple as his wife was asked to remove her anklets because the neighbor couldn't sleep during noontime. And many other workers were asked to remove their anklets. Shivappa has been a seat of harassment where the neighbors would harass him if the site is not clean, the road is not cleaned up. The police would one day take him away at morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, because there was some concrete machine that came in the morning to do the concrete at site. And the police said the neighbor had a problem with it and took him to the site and made him sit next to probably a thief in the night. All right. And he is just a simple person there who's come for work, just like you and me. He earns maybe 500 rupees or 1,000 rupees a day. We might earn depending on our skill set. But what makes people think that his dignity of labor can be taken away or he can be disrespected at will? All right, this is just one example. There are many signs, like he used to stay in gated communities. His children are not supposed to go to play in the play areas. These people are not allowed to use the public toilets in the gated communities, or many gated communities don't even have toilets for them. All right, so these are just a few instances that has kept happening over many, many years, that one day Shivappa gave up after this police station incident, and he and his family went back to their hometown in Hubli. He said, "This is enough, sir. 15 years of harassment. I don't want..." The daughter saw him being taken away by the police at morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. What does she think? And I don't want this life. And he's a farmer too. So he went back to his hometown. And as always, a vacant mind is a devil's workshop. He gets to drinking, and 1 year down the lane, last year, 2024 November, he goes for a drink with his other relative in a bike who was already drunk, meets with a fatal accident, and he dies, leaving behind 3 children. One 14 years of age, another one is 8 years of age, and another one is 5 years of age. Now, whatever you tell, thankfully he had his labor card and everything, and they got some remuneration, some insurance from the government. But his wife is not able to come back to Bangalore to work because there is no ecosystem for her to survive herself. You can't tell her daughter not to be married off. She says, "Illa na bidalla." Now she'll be married off at 16 years. Right? Why am I telling this story to you? This is just one of the stories in India. Let me give you some stats. India has 144 crore people, of which 10% is formalized. That's around 10 to 15 crore people are formalized in the formal segment. All right. 10 crore super senior citizens who came out of the independence movement, they did their part because of whatever the survival movements post the independence. They had to focus on, food, clothing, and shelter, and then they did what they did. And then the next 10 crore people are maybe my parental generation, and their only focus has been on one unsaid dream, educating their children, and they've done that pretty well. India's one of the unsaid dreams is education, and progressively we've been achieving that. Then comes 51 crore people are children. who are dependents in our society. All right. That leaves us around 60 crore people who are the working population of this country, of which 15 crore people are in the formal sectors and 45 crore people are in the informal, unorganized sectors of our country. 10 crore people in farming, 10 crore people in construction who come to work and go back. They're also farmers. There are 10 crore commercial and domestic drivers in our country, and there are 5 crore facility management staff and domestic helps in our country. All of them earning less than 20,000 rupees to 30,000 rupees for their livelihood. And they are just playing the survival game. And each one of these people are being abused in our country in one or the other way. As simple as the story of Shivappa. Drivers aren't allowed to have a seat to sit down. They don't have a toilet. We call all of them almost in singular terms. We allow them, they call us by sir, madam, but we never allow them to call us by name. What is this India? Where did this mindset come up from? They are not allowed to, when they come home, they have to stand. They have a separate plate. They have a separate glass. What kind of a different human beings are they that they are not included in our society? These are very serious questions to be considered if we have to become a Viksit Bharat. There were 3 dreams in our country. One was independence, and that has long been achieved. The second unsaid dream was, like I said, education. But now all of you are second, third generation educated here. My question is, what are you wanting to do with your education? Education just for survival? What do you want to do with your education? Is it a certificate that we want to put up on the board? Or is it a certificate that we want to use for a good job and then use it on the matrimonial sites for marriages? And then go on the cycle of children. They study. This cycle has been going on for 2-3 generations. What are we going to do for India? Different sections of the society, different generations have had their own challenges. What are you going to do here today? What is your contribution going to be towards India moving forward towards a Viksit Bharat? Can I ask you to do 2 or 3 of the things? Can you include at least 3 people in your life? Your cook, your domestic help, the driver who works for you, their children. Can you break these barriers? Can you help them dress well? Because dressing well is a short way to progress in our country. Because dressing well helps people to mingle with others. Can you sit them across for an occasional lunch or a breakfast in your house so that they get to have conversations with you, to learn what is it that you are doing so that they can do for their children to grow up, all with a single-minded focus of making India a developed country. And developed country status cannot be achieved with 10% formalized population. The rest of the 90% of the unorganized population in India has to be formalized. And those formalization aspects, I think, is a challenge for the younger generations to take forward. There's a small snippet I'll share with you. Narayan Murthy's son, Rohan Murthy, when he was very young, he asked his mother, it was on his birthday, why is it that, Mom, that people who serve us food have to eat after we eat, or have to stand aside and eat, or sit down and eat? Why not on the tables? That was also a transformative question for me, which I heard a couple of years back. And that led to they changing their very way they dress. They set a certain kind of limitations. They said, you need to be dressed well, and how to sit down and eat on their table. And that happens in their home. Why can't that happen in our house? There is 1/3 dream in our country that has still remained unachieved even post-independence. The dream of our constitutional father, Dr. Ambedkar. He wanted to see a country of liberty, equality, justice, and fraternity. And it is an ongoing process, and we are nowhere close to it. Because if we build an equitable society by including people, then equality becomes a possibility. If we start thinking in terms of justice for every part of the society, that becomes reality. And brotherhood. We have to include people. Otherwise, how are we going to have an inclusive society? Some friends of mine said probably we should use this unorganized sections opportunity in our country as a strategic advantage. How can we increase their salaries by 10,000 per month? People who are earning 10,000, how can we make it 20,000? People who are earning 20,000, how can we make it 30,000? Why do we need to make this increment? Every 10,000 increase will make this largest unorganized section of our population to aspire for a better quality of life, a better life experience. At the end of the day, everyone have a right to a better quality of life and experience on this planet. We are only going to be here for once. We are never coming back. But what can we do to set up business models, to take to entrepreneurship, whichever organizations that you work in? Can you start looking at them, having conversations to see how you can improve their lives? By just improving their lives by rupees 10,000 rupees, they will spend it on a better quality of education for their children. They will aspire to have a better home. They will aspire to have a better quality of, living experiences around them. And this itself starts developing a circular economy. Imagine 90 crore Indians or the 45 crore unorganized population in this country earning 10,000 rupees addition per month. What happens to the circular economy? Just start imagining what's the numbers behind it. All that money comes back into this country for the development, better roads, better infrastructure, better governance. And there's another challenge in this country. All our parents, we are taught that, governance is not for us. Middle class children don't go to politics, don't go to governance, don't go to construction, don't get into infrastructure. Construction and infrastructure is 60% of your economy. Governance is the backbone. If we don't get into governance and if we don't get into these sectors, what right do we have to complain in our country that the roads are bad, politics is corrupt, governance is bad? We don't have a right to complain. We are doing the mistake of not getting into governance. We are doing a mistake of not getting into sectors like construction and infrastructure, and we want world-class roads. How is that going to happen? These are all very important questions that each one of us over here have to think about if we want to reach a Viksit Bharat status. It's about getting out of the box. We are all stuck in traditions, practices, rules, regulations, passed down generationally by our parents from time to time. Great-grandparents said something, great-grandparents said something, and then their parents followed it, and then my parents followed it, and then I'm following it. If we don't get out of the box, we don't experience a life of adventure. Getting out of the traditional box and setting up our own boxes is what leads us to doing something new in our society. We all have a role to play. Many of our seniors have passed on. Many of them are retired. And what am I going to do for the development of this country? I can't follow the same practices that are already existent. I need to create new practices. I can't do the same practices and pass that to my children. And your parents cannot pass that on to you. And if you continue with it, where are we heading? This country needs the support of youngsters. You need to start looking at what am I doing? What are my goals? We have not set goals. in our country. It's time we start setting those goals, because leaders, I believe you need to start questioning if you want to see transformation in our country. Good morning and thank you.